For number 1, you had to describe your slope and calculate it. So this was a positive slope, and if you counted it, this would be up 4 over 2. Simplify it, it would be 2.
You said a little bit too fast.
For number 2, we need to solve this. So you would add 2x to both sides, divide everything by 3. So your final equation would be y equals 2 over 3x plus 4. Number 3, in this scenario, what you don't know is how much does it cost per hour. So that would be your variable, you don't know. And usually we multiply that by whatever. So cost per hour, you can multiply those things together. So 3 times x would equal 45. And then we would divide everything by 3 to get 15. Questions on those 3? On number 4, so we were just doing this stuff, the parallel perpendicular line stuff. So you could have done this algebraically, you could have also done this on the graph. So it says we need to write an equation that passes through this point and is parallel to this line. So if we start at the point -4, -1, and we know it's parallel, so it'll have the same slope, we can start counting up 2 over 1 as many times as possible until we hit our y-axis. And our y-intercept would be at 7. So our equation would be y equals 2x plus 7. For number 5, you would be graphing this inequality. So you would start at -3 on your y-axis. Your slope is -2, so go up 2, left 1 as many times as possible, and down 2, right 1 as many times as possible. This would be a solid line shaded above. Do we have any questions on those 2? Okay. Before we do what we're going to do today, I have some important dates for you all. 1, remember that this unit is a review unit that I go back and I replace grades for, and whatever marking period that is. I'm almost done grading your tests, but I have to go back and put in grades and replace grades and things like that. So that should be done this weekend. As you start wanting to retest, if you retest this test, the Unit 9 test, it will not be going back to replace grades again. It will just replace grades in marking period 4. For seniors, I don't have many seniors in this class right now, but it's recording, so hopefully seniors listen. Your last day to turn in missing assignments, missing tests, retakes is June 2nd. For everyone else, your last day to turn in missing tests / missing work for you guys is June 9th, because your final exam is June 10th. The last day to do retakes after school is June 7th, because that's the last time I'm staying after school. So keep all of those dates in mind, because once they pass, there will be no more. Can I still do no?
So that's how you told us to. Oh. Hey, straight up.
On top of that, you all also have to take the STAR test again. So I just found when you all will be doing that. For seniors, you're going to take that the 27th of May. And then for everyone else, you all will be taking that the 3rd of June. So that'll be something I put on Canvas. Make sure you have your laptops, things like that, because it's done on your computer. think that was everything. Oh, and then remember that if you don't retest and you take the final, I will be going back and replacing your grades, but only in marking period 4, not going back and replacing everything. So you can count that as your retake if you don't have time to retake also. Do we have any questions on any of those dates or anything I just said?
Expect one here every other day after school.
Okay. So today we're going to review or revisit compound inequalities. So everyone should have this in front of them. We're just going to go through a few of these problems, 4 to be exact, because I know some of you are tired from your SWLs earlier today. So once we get through these 4, you'll have time to practice on your own, rest a little bit, relax a little bit. So make sure you're following along. We're going to start with the OR inequalities. You may or may not remember that OR inequalities have a tendency to grab a part, which means they shouldn't touch. They'll be going in opposite directions. So if we have this example, x is less than or equal to -2. Anything that is equal to is closed. So that would be a closed circle at -2 going to the left. Or x is greater than 3 would be an open circle at 3 going to the right. And then we have to write this in interval notation. So that's kind of going back to when we were doing domain and range and the transformations unit. We're reading this left to right. So reading this left to right, this would keep going off the graph, go towards -infinity. And then it would stop at -2. And that would be a bracket. Or it would start again at 3 and that is open, so we're going to use a parenthesis. And keep going to positive infinity.
So it would only be a bracket.
Right. And only on the number.
Oh my goodness. So you have any?
Pancakes. I'm so sorry.
This is super random.
Caleb just wakes up and chooses to be different. As you can see. Mister, you know I got work today? Did I tell you I got my car back?
You did,
I have work today.
but you can only drive in certain places. And you can only drive in certain places.
I can drive everywhere, I just can't drive to school. And like, okay, so like whenever I want to go out, I just have to let my parents know I'm going out and like call them and let them know when I'm going to be home. But I just can't drive to school. I don't know why.
So that part doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either. Because they're like, be thankful. The only thing. Alright, Caleb.
Yeah, man.
No, Mr. Noble, I want to hear from him. I think the way they say that is because
these schools talk?
I told them that so many people have crashed and trying to go out of school. And so because they ran the incident, maybe they won't crash again because there's like a high possibility.
That makes sense.
So then I'm just allowed to drive everywhere because they know I drive good. So they let me drive everywhere except for school.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. And I finally got my license. I'm a legal driver.
You were driving illegally?
Yeah.
I have so many comments I'm not going to
He
say.
just told you he was driving it illegally.
I am not going to say anything to that. I did not hear that. That didn't happen. Moving on. For number 1,
They never got stopped.
we have to solve both of these.
Never got stopped.
But remember with OR inequalities, we solve them separately. We don't do the same thing to both. So for this one, if we're trying to get x by itself, what would we do here? Add 4. Both sides. So we have x is less than -3. And then you could graph that. That would be an open circle at -3 going to the left.
Okay, so open circle is when I just have the line underneath, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How would we solve the second one?
Divide by 2.
Correct. That would be x is greater than or equal to 6. In between these two answers, you need an or.
So it would be a big 6. I mean, no, it would be a shady 6. That's right?
Yes. So close circle at 6, going to the right. And if we're writing this in interval notation, bringing this left to right, where does this start?
Left.
Yes. At what value?
Negative 3.
Keeps going off the ground,
Oh, infinity.
negative infinity.
Negative.
And then it stops at, would that be open or a parenthesis or
It'll
bracket?
be a parenthesis.
Correct. Or,
Wouldn't it be 6 and then going to the right, so it would be positive infinity?
yes, would 6 be a parenthesis or
It
bracket?
would be parenthesis.
Bracket.
Oh, yes, because it's closed. So
Correct.
So it's only parentheses when it's closed. No, it's open.
No, it's when it's open.
It's right when it's open. It's right when it's
it's closure.
open. Maybe for people, I think it was small.
That's some water still.
Do we have any questions on that one? We're gonna skip down to number 5. With number 5, we're gonna do the same thing, solve both of them. So how would we start solving this first one?
Distribute.
Distribute. We could also divide everything by -3. We talked about that the first time we did this, so if you want to see that, let me know. But for now, we'll just distribute. So -6x minus 3 is less than -15. From there, what would we do?
Subtract 3.
Not
Can you do it
subtract,
actually?
after. -6x is less than -12.
Divide by 6 by -6.
And when we divide by negatives with inequalities, the sign changes direction. So this would be x is now greater than +2.
The sign switches because it's a negative.
Because we divided by negative, yep. So we can graph that. This would be an open circle at 2, going to the right. Yeah, I did.
And I'm telling you, it was so good.
Or the second one, how would we solve that? Subtract 1. We have -x is greater than or equal to 4. Then what? Divided by -1. So the sign would change directions again. We have x is now less than or equal to -4. And there should be an or in between those.
Wait, so why did that one,
It did. Because we changed the
Okay, yes.
divided by negative.
are we able to, like, change the sign where, what I'm just trying to say is, you know how you used to put equal sign between the two fractions? So, if a negative x goes with a negative 1, and then 4 is negative, can I change it right there? Or would
You can have right here.
Yeah.
Not unless you multiply or divide it. Multiply or divide on both sides by a negative. X is less than or equal to -4 would be a closed circle going to the left. How would we write this interval notation? Where would it start?
Correct. Infinity, and then 4 bracket.
-4 bracket, or
2.
as a parenthesis, going, yep, going to infinity with another parenthesis. Before we do we have any questions on this one? Do we want to see any others on this page? On the back. Or and inequalities are opposites. So if or inequalities graph apart and inequalities graph together, which means they'll be facing each other. So in this example, if we were to graph these two, I'm going to graph them as two separate things and then graph the final answer. X is greater than or equal to -6 would be open. -6. I'm sorry, I said open, but I closed it. Should be closed, going to the right. X is less than or equal to 1 would be closed, going to the left. And we are looking for where those two lines overlap. So that would be from -6 to +1. And that would be our final answer, that one in blue.
So let me be bracket +1, comma.
They both have brackets. So -6.
Oh, because they're both closed.
Yeah, because they're both close. So -6 to 1, both with brackets.
Or will we have problems like that? Or be bracket right?
Possibly. I think we'll do some like that. For this, usually they're written, no, sometimes you'll see them written separately. X is greater than or equal to -6. I'm just rewriting this example right here. And X is less than or equal to 1. But we will be writing them as a condensed answer. -6 is less than or equal to X, which is less than or equal to 1. Like the set building notation. So for number 6, we're going to solve this, but as we do this, we need to, whatever we do, we're doing it to everything, all at the same time. So to get rid of this 4 in the middle, what would we do to it? Subtract 4, but we're going to do that everywhere. So in the middle and on the outsides. And this would become -2 is less than or equal to X, which is less than +5. So Rashad, this would be an example where you have a closed and an open, or bracket and a parenthesis.
Okay.
So in this case, when we draw this, the -2 would be closed, the 5 would be open, and you would draw a line that connects them. So when we write our interval notation, -2 would have the bracket, and 5 would have the parenthesis.
What's the other difference?
In our inequality answer, this doesn't have an equals. So it's open, so then it's parentheses. Do you have any other questions on that one before we do one more? We're gonna do number 10. How would we start number 10? Distribute. We could also divide everything by 2. That would give you the same answer. But we're just going to distribute right now. So negative 2 is less than 2x minus 12 is less than or equal to 4. And then what would we do next? Add 12 to everything. So here in the middle and on the outsides. We have positive 10 is less than 2x, which is less than or equal to 16. And then divide everything by 2. So 5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 8. So 5 would be an open circle. 8 would be a closed circle, and we would connect a line between those two. 5 would be a parenthesis, and 8 would be a bracket. We could do 7, yep. Do we have any other questions on 10? For number 7, we would do what first? Not subtract, but add 13. So if we're adding 13, what would our new numbers be?
So we don't add the one.
No, because those wouldn't be like numbers. So negative 27 plus 13 would give us negative 14 is less than 7x, which is less than 21. Then we could divide everything by 7. So negative 2 is less than x, which is less than 3. Everything here would be open, so everything here would have parentheses. Negative 2, 3. Negative 2, 3. Did we have any others on this page that we wanted to see or go over? For the remainder of class, you guys have time to practice any problems that are left. I'd say if you feel comfortable with the or, maybe work more on the and, or vice versa. If you want to practice some of each, do that. If you still need to finish a test, I'm going to be coming around asking you if you want to work on that. But you have the time to work.